Welcome to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you are ready to find your inner magic, develop great habits, and a rock-steady mindset to feel confident, comfortable, and fit in your body, you are in the right place. I am Kim Barnes Jefferson, and I'll be giving you weekly doses of health, fitness, and life tips sprinkled with humor and real talk. If you're ready to be consistent without the stress of perfection, magic makers, it's time to slip into your favorite pair of PJs, grab some coffee, kick back, and listen to today's show.
Hey, magic makers, I am having a conversation that more women need to hear. If you've ever stepped on the scale and let that number ruin your entire day, you are not alone. In fact, nearly 80% of women admit to letting that scale impact their mood or have them dismiss the progress that they've made towards losing weight or creating healthier habits. And I've been there. My guest Olivia's been there, and chances are you listening or you know someone who's been there too. Today, I'm joined by Olivia Young. She is a performance coach who, like me, has had to shift her focus from 100% weight loss to something way more powerful, feeling stronger, capable, and more energized. And in this episode, we unpacked what happens when you stop trying to eat less and less and less and move more and more and more, but instead you focus on how do you fuel your body, honor your strength, and fully understand what maintenance really looks like. We talk about the mental freedom of ditching diet culture, what performance goals actually mean. Hint, it's not just for athletes, beginners can have them too, and why slow and steady progress is the kind that sticks, right? We've been sold, go big or go home, but I'm more about like go slow and go home. And if you've ever worried, can you stop dieting and still feel amazing in your body? The answer is a resounding yes. And we are diving into how that is possible. So ladies, let's get into it. This week's iTunes review is brought to you by Jackie O. Jazz Hands. She writes a great, funny podcast about real topics we all struggle with. Kim gives great advice and support to people to live their best life. That just fills my heart. Thank you so much for taking the time to write me that 5-star review. And for those of you who have yet to leave that 5-star review, all you have to do is go on to iTunes or wherever you listen to this podcast and do the same thing, and I will read it on the air. So thank you so much, Jackie O. Jazz Hands. It fills me up when I read those reviews from the heart. Enjoy the podcast. Hey, magic makers. Today I'm doing something I want to say a little bit differently. And it is inspired by this woman, Olivia Young. She and we are in I would call it like a masterminding type program. And she and I got to talking. We both do health and fitness. We both we work with clients on weight loss. One of the conversations we got to talking about is how now we are really working with clients to focus more about performance over weight loss. For me, I focus on, how do we have a healthier lifestyle over just always being like, get that damn scale down, where she's coming from it as like, how does she help her athletes become, more performance based and less weight loss based? And as we started having the conversation, I was like, this is a conversation that other people should hear other than she and I. So Olivia, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation because I agree. It is something that I think more women should hear and should be able to have conversations in their own groups and communities about this and help support each other to just not always focus on weight loss. I think that's fine if people want to focus on fat loss, but also knowing that there's so much more to fueling your body and being in an exercise routine and being active than just focusing on being smaller.
Can we be real with each other, magic makers? How do you really feel about summer? Are you that woman who puts off weight loss or healthy living goals because you just want to enjoy summer without tracking every single bite? Or maybe you're the one who's Googling restaurant menus on vacation, trying to find the best restaurant that will serve you keto and vegan. Or waking up at 5 a.m. to squeeze in a workout before we hit the beach with our families. Or wrestling with that guilt every time you skip the gym and you say yes to the extra basket of chips. And of course, I will have another margarita salt. This summer is the year you get unsexy. Yeah, I said it, because unsexy is sustainable. And sustainable is where we get results that actually last longer than a trip to the beach. In the Unsexy Summer Shred, it's an 8-week program that I'll be running for women over 40 who are done with the extremes and ready for a routine that lets them live life and get results. We're talking more protein without needing a food scale, strength training that fits into your real schedule, including when you're hitting the beach, daily habits that don't require superhuman willpower, discipline, or motivation, and a repeatable process that will make consistency feel easy and effortless. Imagine heading into fall feeling stronger and confident without feeling like you need to white knuckle your way through this summer of rules, restrictions, and regret. My client Liza, who just added more protein to her breakfast, found that she wasn't snacking late night. She wasn't having that extra need for coffee later in the afternoon. So doors open soon, but the wait list is where you get your first dibs and the juicy bonuses. And if you are ready to stop pressing pause every time summer comes or every little misstep over the summer, this is why you need to hop on the wait list. This summer, we're going to stop dieting and we're just going to start doing what works. So if that sounds like you and you want to get unsexy, I got you.
Yeah. And, it's so funny because, as you and I were having that conversation, I think about even now when you look out into the, abyss of social media, from commercials that you see, it's all about like, lose 20 pounds in 20 minutes and lose this. And so it's really hard as for you and I to kind of combat that noise.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you see. That's all you see. That's all you hear. So someone who is like, I'd say like listening to this, what was like kind of like your shift that you said, you know what? I no longer want to focus on the smaller. I want to focus more about how do we, really shift to be like, let's focus on performance as something other than weight loss to kind of get you out of that cycle.
Yeah. I would say that my journey, maybe like other women, but kind of came from a place of not having a good relationship with food and my body image. But I always liked to exercise. Like I know that exercise is important. I enjoyed how I felt after I exercised, and I've always tried different things. And so it just got to a point where I was like, okay, the always trying to eat less and be restrictive with my food is not working for me. I kept feeling like I kept having to lose the same 10 pounds each year, each summer. And I was always thinking about how to lose weight or trying to control my food. And I was like, this is mentally exhausting. I just can't do this anymore. And I was like, what if I just didn't try to restrict myself and I just try to eat a little bit more normally, where I would listen to my body instead of just tracking my food in a certain amount of numbers telling me how much I should be eating.
Right.
And try to retrain that kind of mechanism in my mindset around food. And so I kind of just focused on just like what maintenance would look like and staying in a fitness journey. And then I found myself enjoying just being able to eat more and seeing that I was building more muscle and I was so much stronger and I felt so much better. And then that just kind of led me to like, well, I know that nutrition is important, can affect your performance, but now it's just so much easier to perform better when I'm not trying to restrict my food.
Right. And it's funny, as you say that, one of the things that most people hear is that last year was like, I say the first time I had ever done what I call like a maintenance journey, and to really understand what does maintenance look like for me, and getting to maintenance is hard.
Yeah.
I want to say it's probably harder than dieting.
Yeah.
And, for someone who's listening, and guys, I'll link a show I did about like my journey to maintenance. But for someone that you listening, people are like, but how did you not step on the scale? As you were going through this like performance journey, did you step on the scale? Did you freak out? Because I know many people, they are like, wait, what did the scale do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I remember taking a little bit of a break from the scale because at that point, like I was getting on the scale every morning. I was taking my measurements around my waist and my hips regularly. I was taking progress photos. And I just knew that if I was going to be at maintenance, I wasn't going to be looking for a change. And I think that that is like a hard mindset shift. Going to maintenance is that you aren't looking for the scale to change. So it's almost like, why are we getting on this all of the time? And we don't need to get on the scale all of the time because I'm not looking for a change. I'm not looking for validation if this is working or not.
Yes.
That's that I could just take a step back and be like, okay, actually the goal is staying the same in a way.
Yeah.
And so only getting on the scale once a week was fine for me.
Yeah. I know for me, my journey in that maintenance phase was that I told myself, I'm like, because I'm like, this was uncharted territory for me. So I'm like, I don't know, but I'm like, I always look at things I do from like a client's eyes. And so I'm like, okay, if I was Sally client, she's going to step on the scale, even though I tell her not to, she's going to do it. And so I'm like, okay, I told myself, I'm staying within this 5-pound range. And like, this was like the range that I gave myself so that if a client asked me, am I going to put on weight? I didn't want to be like, I don't know. Like, I wanted to be able to say, probably. But, and I was like, if I stay within this 5-pound range, then if I go 6 pounds, then I know that that's gone a little bit too far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that it is even really important for women to know that weight fluctuations are normal. I would 2 to 5 pound like fluctuation, especially throughout if they're menstruating still, but just generally that's like a healthy fluctuation. You're not going to stay to the 10th of a decimal like every single day, there's so many things that affect our weight beyond just our food and exercise that we know and probably talk with our clients about a lot. But yeah, I think the healthy 5-pound range is a good like number to get people's head around as they're trying to transition to like focusing on performance or maintenance. That is maintenance, honestly.
Right. Because it's like you said, so many people, like, and you hear this too, like, oh my God, the scale went up. And then you're like, there's probably like 10 things that like off the top of my head, I'm going to ask you that you're going to be like, oh. I'm like, because it's just, I'm like, I always say we're not a math equation, right? Like we're like fluid. Like, it's just like some days the scale's going to go up, some days the scale's going to go down. But it's like, I always say like, I always felt like, 5 pounds is like really nothing. Mm-hmm. If you put your head down, you could easily lose 5 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to remember too, if we're shifting to performance and we are shifting to that maintenance aspect of things, it's not necessarily just body fat that we're adding, right? Like, you could be adding muscle mass because you're finally eating enough food to build muscle, right? I think women are so worried sometimes about, I don't want to get bulky.
Yeah.
I don't want to build too much muscle. It's like, it's really hard to build a lot of muscle. It takes so much time. When I have clients get like in-body scans done because they want to look more at that lean muscle mass and body fat percentage and have other numbers to look at, I'm like, okay, well, a healthy rate of gaining muscle is probably only going to be a 0.5 pound to a pound maybe per month, right? Like, it takes time for this to happen. And so when we're actually eating enough food, even just at maintenance, our body could be losing body fat and building muscle at the same time when we're still exercising and training hard.
Right. So now as people are listening to this, they're like, okay, all right, I'm starting to think about this, like, being the scale, taking a break. Um, when we say performance, what are we talking about? Like most people are like, if you and I are gym rats. So like, we know, like in our minds, we know what performance is. But if I am not a gym rat, or I am someone who's trying to be a gym rat, like what would we, quantify as performance?
I would say any kind of activity that you have more of a specific goal and you want to get a little competitive with yourself with it. That could be like a hike that you love doing, but being like, okay, now I want to do it faster, or I just want to feel better doing hike every year when we go to this destination with my family, right? Like if it's a 10-mile hike, a 5-mile hike, whatever. It's like, I don't want to be the slowpoke holding everyone back. I want to be the leader of the pack, or the ones that are like, come on, guys, like, let's go. Like that could even be a performance goal. It doesn't have to be signing up for a half marathon and doing that if running's not your thing. But, if you are the gym person, you love to strength train, like it could be signing up for something maybe out of your comfort zone and doing some kind of powerlifting, or even just trying to see those numbers go up when you're in the gym and having more of a performance-based goal of getting stronger and watching those numbers increase. Or again, just how you feel doing the strength training on a regular basis. It's like, oh, okay, like these 30-pound weights aren't as hard. I can do more reps at this amount too.
Gotcha. I like that, because I think most people, as you're talking about performance, like, I know sometimes when I say to like non-gym rats, I'm like, oh, like let's see if we can get a PR, and they look at me like, what do those two letters put together mean? Right. So it's like, it is like seeing you go from, 10-pound dumbbells to, working your way up the rack on the dumbbells. And so now I want to take it from the backside. So if I am a gym rat, and, as we start to go to the gym regularly, we might not see the jumps we did that we used to. That when I first started working out, I was probably every month or so easily able to pick up the heavier dumbbells, squat a little bit heavier. But now that, I've have 20 plus years under my belt, those gains don't come as quickly. So what do you say to those people who are like, I'm not lifting as heavy as I used to be able to lift? How do we kind of get them out of the mindset of that every, 4 to 6 weeks or so, I'm going to be lifting heavier? Because that might not be the case.
Yeah. And I think that this is really interesting as we look over like our lifespan, right? Like I think right now I'm 29 years old. Because I've taken my nutrition and fitness more seriously in the past 5 to 7 years, I actually feel more fit and confident in my performance abilities now than I did when I was 20, 21 years old. But then as we get older, I think, women that are 40, 50 years old are comparing themselves to their 30-year-old selves, where maybe they were lifting heavier, maybe because they were a little bit more competitive, or their running, stats were a little bit faster, whatever that kind of looks like for them. And I think we have to, compare ourselves and our best to certain seasons of our life, because, if we compare ourselves just to our younger self, then that might not be as applicable. But maybe if we compare ourselves to like, okay, well, just like, how are we feeling? How do we feel like we're handling all of this differently, our stress in the gym and our workouts? Like, I think we can reframe how we compare ourselves into what actually matters. Like maybe we change the goal, and the goal isn't just to lift more weight, but maybe after doing a little bit of cardio, or after, maybe it's more under fatigue, I can still do the same amount of weight or something like that, right? Because I come from a little bit of a maybe different background than you right now. I'm more of a CrossFit coach. Right. And so CrossFit workouts are always like varied. where we have a little bit of conditioning and strength component in there. And that aspect to me makes more sense in this question, because there's going to be different ways that you can test your strength and your fitness capabilities in those type of workouts versus just your traditional doing a shoulder press with maybe dumbbells and seeing how many reps you can do at a certain amount of weight. But if I do shoulder press in a workout with jump roping and burpees, that's going to look different. And you can kind of be proud of yourself in those different capacities. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. And, and as I kind of, as we kind of go back to your hiking example, it could be that maybe as I'm lifting, I lift heavier and I might need a little bit more. I need a little less recovery to take it to the next set. Could be another way for me to measure performance. Or maybe it's like, instead of rushing my sets, maybe I am taking longer so that I can lift the heavier weight and take the time that I need for my muscles to truly be like, okay, girl, we're ready. Let's go and lift a little bit heavier. So I think as you are having this conversation, and hopefully, guys, as you're listening to the conversation, you're starting to think to yourself, it's not always about more. It could be about how fatigue, overall energy. It just could be, what did I do ahead of time? Did I get a good night's sleep? Did I just, like you said, was I doing burpees and then, running 400 meters and then rowing and then went into my lift? So it's kind of like us kind of zooming out and seeing all the activity that was in that particular workout and how did it go?
Yeah. And I even think too, like as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about the flexibility and mobility. Like when you incorporate that kind of recovery aspect or warm up or cool down, or whenever you're kind of fitting that into your day or your fitness routine in a week, that can make a big difference too in just how you feel in your workouts and your ability level too in your performance.
Yeah, no, that is spot on, and definitely a way to think about it too. And one of the things you said that I feel that many people lose sight of, and I'm glad that you learned this lesson early, because, if I could go back in time and tell my 29-year-old self, I'd probably be like, for the love of God, it's okay to eat more food. And so you talked about, we need to fuel for our strength, not just, race to the bottom of the calorie scale, so as what was it kind of like for you, kind of like that click that said, me not always eating enough isn't translating for me here anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I realized that I was kind of hitting that plateau in my performance, because at that time I was lifting a lot in the gym. That was like my primary fitness goal, was just going into the gym and lifting. I wasn't really doing much cardio or anything else that makes people more well-rounded now that I try to do. And I realized that I was just like, this is just getting really hard. And like, I'm not seeing those progressive jumps anymore. And I was getting really mentally exhausted. So I was like, I think it's just time to try to eat more food and see what that's about, and see how I actually feel, and just make it a little experiment for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I had to tell myself, is like, okay, for 1 year, I'm just not going to restrict my food, not going to put myself in a calorie deficit, and just see what happens. It's 1 year of your life. Like, what do you have to lose?
Do you know how many people just passed out right now when you said a year? I'm like, all right, here's your smelling salt. the smelling salt, it's here. I'm laughing because this is probably maybe a year ago. There was a reporter, someone who's totally like, she doesn't report on health and fitness. She just was talking about her own personal journey. And she started working with a trainer, and her trainer told her that she should expect this to be a 2-year journey. So she's a 40-something-year-old woman. And she said, you should expect this to be a 2-year journey. Okay. Again, some of you guys just passed out again. And it was just exactly what you said. The first year is just figuring shit out, figuring out like, you know, as I said, as we talked about earlier, maintenance is hard to find. And it was just like, literally like for the first year, we're just going to figure out what maintenance looks like for you. And for many of us, we've been under eating for decades. So like just the mental thought of like increasing your food, it's going to take you a few weeks. You're going to freak out a couple times, and it's just like getting the reps underneath your belt. And then, as you said, you know, I'm going to try this for a year. It's experiment, because guess what? Like what you're doing right now, is it getting you the results that you want? So I'm going to say in that year, you're probably going to go on 20 different diets or try the same diet 500 times. Why not try this maintenance portion? You have absolutely nothing to lose. And I promise you, like I said, I stayed within 5 pounds, and it blew my mind, because it was the first time I'd ever like tracked consistently how much food I was eating. And I was pushing the envelope, and I was at almost 2,500 calories. And I've never eaten that much like consistently in my life. And it was mind blowing that I just stayed within this 5 pound range for a year.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say part of that for me was true is like, I need to figure this out, because I have clients that need these answers too, and be able to coach them and understand like what they're going through. Right. Like I don't ever want to take a client through a transformation or journey that like I have not put the work in myself to figure out.
Right. Because you want to be able to say like, yeah, when I got to month whatever, yeah, that's when I got like crazy. Or, you know, you might experience this, and, you know, it'll take you, you know, for most people, it takes a couple weeks to kind of like work through whatever it is that experience might be.
Sure. Exactly. So, and I think too, like going back to your original question too, of like, what was that click for me? I think it was around the time whenever a lot of people were like, oh, you should only work out fasted.
Yeah.
And I was trying to do that. And I was like, this does not feel good.
No.
And nothing is working here. I'm waking up at 4:30 a.m., working out fasted, and then coming home. And then like, I literally had no energy for the rest of the day. My workouts and my fitness journey and my health is supposed to make me feel better. And I was feeling better. I was so exhausted, and I was literally 22 years old. I was like, this is crazy.
And I want to, so let's go down. You know, I told you, you're gonna pull a vein, you're gonna pull a string, and I'm gonna be like, that's the string. And so, okay, so you're 22 and doing that, right? So for some of my ladies, and I'm not calling you out because I'm guilty of this too, that was the way, right? That was pure, utter bro science. And, you know, smarter Kim Googles, and I was like, okay, like show me the research on this, because just like you, I worked out fasted for decades. And I was like, I just thought that was the way, right? And so as I Googled, there was no, like the science that's out there, it's 50-50. Some people say it works. Some people say it doesn't. And so for many of my like women out there, you're intermittent fasting and you're working out on this fasted workout. Like, honestly, if you were, you know, and the question is always like, am I going to break my fast? Like my question for you is, if you ate like my go-to now is I have some applesauce. If I just had a 50 calorie applesauce packet and some BCAAs, are the intermittent fasting police going to come call me out? Like, or am I going to feel better? You know, am I going to feel like shit? Because at 22, she probably you didn't have kids. You weren't dealing with aging parents. You weren't dealing with a crazy family, a heavy, hectic job. So like, let's just add those layers of like stress on top of you. Now you're going to be like, I'm going to now work out 2 hours at the gym as hard as I can with nothing in the tank, except for maybe if you eat, I'm hoping you ate dinner late last night. Because if I didn't eat dinner late last night, I'm at 0.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. No, that was my exact thought. I was like, this doesn't make sense to me anymore. So I just start and something too, I felt like in my brain that I had always told myself, which I hear a lot when I try to pressure clients into eating before their workouts, if they've only ever fasted and worked out, is that they worry about they're going to get sick because they're not used to having food in their stomachs, and they're like, oh, I can't work out. It like makes me nauseous with food in my stomach, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's an applesauce packet. Like, just try it,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
sip on a Body Armor or a Gatorade that is literally hydrating you at the same time, but also providing your body with carbohydrates.
Right. And it's, we're not saying have a full meal. Like I know for me, like I picked applesauce because like it's already pretty like pre-digested, quote unquote. So I was like, the thought of like even having like a half a banana probably just wouldn't sit well in my stomach. And so I was like, applesauce. And I'm like, you know what? It's like, I look forward to it. It's a nice little like pick me up. And when I come home, I'm like, yep, I can eat breakfast. And I feel like my lips I feel a little bit better. And I always feel like trash leaving the gym.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like you're putting some carbohydrates in your body. Your body's going to be able to pull from that. So you're going to be able to feel a little bit better. Like, why would I do the same workout but feel worse doing it? It makes no sense to me. Like, if I just have an applesauce packet, drink some water, and I actually feel better and enjoy my workout more because I don't feel like death, I feel like that's worth it to me.
Yeah. And like I said, like, I don't know, it's for me now it's bro science. It's 50-50. Like there's no like conclusive results that say fasted strength training is going to be the key to unlock the weight loss game. Because if it was, I think someone would be like, beating on their chest, telling you to go for it.
Well, yeah. And when we're talking about weight loss, we have to remember we can't hack, I'm using air quotes here, like hack our way into fat loss and trick our body metabolism. There are no tricks. It is science here. And if we want to lose body fat and maintain those results so that we don't have to keep losing the same 10, 20, 30 pounds, we have to build muscle. There's no way around it. And you're not going to build muscle if you're not eating enough or timing your nutrition efficiently around your workouts.
Right. And so with that said, I'm always of the school, don't let great be the enemy of good. Mm-hmm. And so and I'm sure your clients have in the same vein. So a lot of my clients will be like, some of my clients work out like mid-morning and they'll be like, oh, I work out mid-morning and then I have to run errands after. And by the time I get home, I'm starving. So again, I'm like, that applesauce packet like is a good gap meal, or carrot sticks, or something that like a half a protein bar, something that's like you're not having it's not a snack per se, but it's not a meal per se, but it's something that gives you that like hour before you hit that like hangry point of you. What are your thoughts on those kind of like that kind of, I'm calling it a gap meal. I don't know what the right term would be for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a huge proponent for snacks. That's literally one of the things that I say all the time. And if you go to my social media, I'm always giving snack ideas because I just think that people have gotten into this mindset around diet culture that snacks are bad for you. Well, it's not that snacks are bad for you, because if we have a purpose for them,
yeah,
they're fine. And if we are choosing things that are still nutrient dense, that's fine. And so why would I not pack snacks to go with me if I know that I have 2 to 4 errands to run after the gym, just because I think snacks are bad and I shouldn't feel like I shouldn't eat yet? Like, that's so silly to me. Like, pack the protein bar, pack the beef stick, make the smoothie before you go to your workout, leave it in the car. It's cold out, it's winter season right now, and then sip on it while you're running around your errands. And then when you get home, so what if you're not hungry for a huge meal at that point? That's great, because usually we make healthier decisions about our food when we're not starving. So then we get home from running the errands and we can make a mindful choice of like, oh, I have some leftover protein and veggies from dinner last night. Let's just eat that. I now don't need to raid the snack cabinet from my children and can just eat a balanced meal and then carry on with the rest of the things I have to do for the day.
Yeah, no, I like that because it's like, I feel that so many of us have been like conditioned, white knuckle it. Like if you, or, I always try to train my clients to not eat on a schedule. Like I'm like, stop, like, every feeling like you have to eat every 2 or 3 hours. I'm like, let's see, like when you feel hungry, eat. So if it's 3 hours, if it's 4 hours, fine, whatever it is. But so many people are like, well, but I ran my errand and then it turned into like, and I'm like, that's when I always have something in the car so that, we all have those errands where like, it's going to take me 5 minutes to do it. And then 2 hours later, you're still out and about.
Right. Because the line at the post office was insane.
Right. And there's only one person and they're moving like, a snail.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I agree. Take the snacks with you. And if you don't need it, that's okay. You don't have to eat it. And then you can just eat the meal when you get home. But at least you have something and you're prepared so that you don't let yourself get to that point of being so hangry. And yeah, I don't understand the white knuckling it thing. I used to also do that. I thought like my hunger was almost like a badge of honor. Like, oh, I'm doing this right because I'm hungry, but I'm not eating. It's like, no, that is literally the opposite of what we want to do for a metabolism so that our body is trained in a way to, hey, I'm sending you a signal and you're responding to it. That's the way hormones work. And if you don't respond to it, they stop sending you signals.
Right. And if, I always also tell people like, and when you stop listening, like, how many times have you said, oh, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait. And you get home and it's like, if it ain't nailed down, it's going in your mouth.
Yeah. And then that's what gets us on that, more binge restrict mentality because you just ate so much, you feel bad, you don't feel good physically, and then you're trying to restrict the next meal.
Right. And so as people are thinking about performance, how often should I be tracking this? Is this a 30-day thing? It's a 60-day thing? It's a 90-day thing? Where should I kind of start to say, all right, where is my kind of like benchmarks?
I think that really depends on what your performance goals are, like how you want to measure it and what makes sense for you and what you kind of need to see as progress along the way for you to stay motivated, right? Because if there's a longer term goal, right? We're talking about maintenance or focusing on performance, maybe for the next year as an experiment. People might listen to this and are like, okay, let's just try it. Let's just try eating enough. I have this performance goal. I was already planning on doing this thing. Let's actually eat enough and see what happens. I think setting for sure a goal within 30 days, a shorter term goal, and then seeing how you feel, and know that you can always change the approach or if you don't feel like it's working. And I think that that's what's so helpful about hiring a coach is that you can talk through the process with them and be like, okay, like this is how I'm feeling. Like, is this how I should be feeling? Is this not how I should be feeling? Like, how do I know if this is working or not? When you can talk those things through with a coach who's worked on their performance goals before and been able to help.
No, and I like that because you're right. Like I personally like I need the motivation, and we're stuck in this instant gratification society, right? So I like that. Like let's just say if I wanted to run a mile, so let's see if can I run a mile, and in 30 days, check like, did I not make it through the mile? Did I make it a little bit further, even if it's 3 minutes further than I did the last time I tried to run the mile? And just kind of every, few weeks, like to give yourself a retest and just see how it's going. Because, I mean, unless you're that like rare bird who is, gifted, we're not going to see like, you're not going to go from like 1 week not being able to run a mile to like in 2 weeks running a solid mile without huffing and puffing. Like there is that rare bird. And if you are that person, to rock on with your bad self.
Right, exactly. And I think when we're talking about nutrition and around performance too, is like play with different foods before or after your workout, and then even give yourself like a little check-in of a few questions or rate how that, rate of perceived exertion was for that workout, depending on what you ate before or after, what your
Yeah.
the day before or whatnot, because that is going to make a difference in how you feel performance wise too. But I think you seeing how you rate those workouts and that perceived exertion will help you see, oh, when I was fueled better, when I did have better sleep the night before, I performed better. That felt easier to accomplish.
Right. I wasn't boozing it up the night before. I feel better getting in that workout. For sure. Because I think so many women discount the day before.
Mm-hmm.
And, discount that maybe it was like, I didn't really eat that much yesterday, but I'm still going to demand the same from my body as if I had, a 2,000 calorie day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that for sure makes a big difference when, as women, we're just like, oh, well, we should be able to have the same performance even when we don't put in the recommended or required energy for that. That's about with clients all the time is we ask our bodies to do so much throughout the day, but yet we are giving it the minimum amount of energy to do all the things. And we think that we're supposed to show up A1 with the best confidence and outperform everyone else. It's like, no, we're tired, we're exhausted, we're showing up not feeling our best because we're not giving it enough to be at that level.
It's funny that you say that. That's for I have several clients that are like, queens of the Dawn Patrol. And I'm always like, I would rather you only work out 2 days this week if you told me that your kid is having a recital or a late practice or whatever, and you're not going to get to bed till 11 o'clock. And you're going to try to get up for that 4 or 5 a.m. workout. And I'm like, I would rather you skip that workout. I'd rather you skip that workout and just foam roll at home or do something else at home and get the sleep on the back end, because it's going to be way better for you versus the badge of honor. I made it to the 5 a.m. class and I only got 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I have even had clients do experiments. I literally had a client do an experiment. She is a teacher. She has 2 kids, very active in different sports events, whatnot, over her Christmas break, because she was like, ever since school started, I've just seen my weight continue to go up. My exercise hasn't changed. My food hasn't changed. And I said, but your stress has and your sleep has, because you can't. She was in the summer when she was off as a teacher, she wasn't waking up until 7 a.m. And then she was able to get in a workout at 9 a.m. after she had breakfast. So like her whole stress and sleep patterns had changed. And so then I was like, let's do an experiment over Christmas break. I want you to sleep in as much as possible. And if you don't get all 4 workouts in your week and you only get 2, that's okay. Let's just try it. Imagine that. Her weight went down like 4 pounds, all because she just changed her sleep and she actually didn't change her, exercise or nutrition.
It's funny they say that. I have a lot of teachers too, and they all the same thing. As soon as school starts, they are a hot mess. And then when, on summer vacation or, winter break, they're like, what's a dream? And, and they're still trying to maintain the same schedule as in the summer, or they completely fall apart when school starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's something too. Sometimes you just have to have this true understanding of science and how your body works. And so you're not just frustrated at the scale and the number, just being honest with yourself. Like, maybe I can't really change my stressors because this is just what I'm up against. And my stress level is a little bit higher. I'm doing my best to manage it. We can sometimes throw supplements at it or try some of the different, stress management strategies and things like that. But, getting mad at the scale and then trying to overly restrict our food and control more is only going to make you more stressed out. So,
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%. So, if someone's listening to this and they're like, okay, you guys, I think I'm starting to see the light here. What's one place you would have them start?
I would eat something before the gym.
Okay.
Before you work out, have a pre-workout snack. Start with the applesauce, the Go-Go Squeeze pouches, whatever brand you can find at your grocery store. That is the simplest thing. Or, some kind of light carbohydrate drink, like the Light Body Armor or something like that, just to have something like 15 grams of carbs. Just try it and see how you feel.
And if you had like one workout that you would recommend, like one woman over 40 do, what is that one workout you would recommend?
Ooh, I like this question. Women over 40, I want them to do a workout that is cardio and strength training combined.
Ooh.
So I want them to warm up efficiently. So we are grabbing lighter weights or a resistance band, doing some kind of light cardio to warm up. And then we are hitting the cardio and the weights hard for like 15, 20 minutes in some kind of like strength and cardio workout, whether that's rowing or you hop on the bike and then you're doing some kind of like maybe a body weight movement and a dumbbell or a barbell movement. And we're doing that hard. And then we're going to cool down with a walk and some stretching and in your hour that you have at the gym. That's what I would have women over 40.
But did you hear what she said? She said an hour, right? There's we're not like, in a marathon here. Like we're not going to be able to watch 4 hours of the Kardashians on TV. We're like in and out in an hour, which I know for me, I was the 2-hour girl. And if it was under 2 hours, like I work out. And now I'm like, if my workout is more than an hour, I'm like, I'm out. I just am like, I don't have time for that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And especially if you're not eating before the gym, girl, I would be passed out. I would be so tired.
I look back at myself and I'm like, oh my God, I need to pull her back. I need to pull her aside and be like, girl, it's okay. Slow down. Yeah. And as people are like listening to this and like, my hope is that someone, for me, I know, and I know the same thing for Olivia. Sometimes you're not ready to hear it and that's okay. But sometimes you are like at that, like your ears just a little open and you've just been waiting for this different path.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is the best mindset shift for someone who's like struggling with that like slow weight loss that we're talking about? What's kind of like one way you're like, it's okay. Come to the light.
The slow weight loss journey is the best weight loss journey because guess what, girlfriend? You are losing it slow enough to maintain the results and that it's going to be sustainable. Any of the fast weight loss, you're probably losing a lot of water weight and you're probably losing muscle along the way too. If you are doing it slow, it's going to be more sustainable so you can do it for a longer amount of time and you're going to retain more muscle in the process, which is really, really important. And I just think that you will feel so much better just realizing that, hey, if we're still moving and the scale's still going down, but it's really slow, at least the scale's still moving or the inches are going down, your clothes are fitting better. When we get to that like halting stop, that's when it gets hard because then we're like, well, we have to change something up. Something's got to be different.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And so, where can people find you if they have questions about anything related to you? Where can I find you?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram at Live Beyond the Table. So my name's Olivia, so it's just LIV and then Beyond the Table. And you can slide in my DMs. I'm always happy to chat about anything. If you are in the CrossFit space or have done CrossFit before. I love having those conversations too. I recently moved to Wyoming. So if you're in the Wyoming or Midwest area, feel free to reach out to me. But yeah, snacks are something that I love to talk about with people and just helping people find healthy alternatives for snacking if they do want to make sure that they are better prepared for those errands or those busy days. I have a whole snack guide on my website. So just www.livebeyondthetable.com, and you can put your information in, download a free snack guide, and let me know what snacks you end up eating.
Awesome. And then I ask everyone this: what is one thing that makes you feel magical?
Oh my goodness. A really good massage, like
Ooh.
60 to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I just feel like a brand new woman.
Yeah. Especially when they get into like the nooks and crannies. That is just like,
Oh yeah. Just really back on those like back upper shoulders.
that you're just like, oh my God, like, oh my, you're like, oh my God, you're massaging cement right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That always feels so good. Massages always make me feel so much better.
Awesome. Well, Olivia, this has been such a great conversation, and thank you so much for taking the time. And so, Magic Makers, if this episode hits home, let us know, hit us up in the DMs, screenshot this, and make sure you tag us and let us know what performance goals that you might be setting for yourself this month. And if you are ready to break the scale and train like a badass, absolutely, myself or Olivia are here to help you out. And as always, please share this with Share this episode with a friend who might need this reminder that weight loss isn't always the goal. It's about living to your fullest, healthiest, and happiest self. I will see you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for listening to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you've made it this far, yay. I'm thinking you enjoyed the show. Let's continue the conversation on Instagram. You can find me at Kim Jefferson Coach. In order for me to keep sharing this message, do me a favor and leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss an episode. New episodes are available every Wednesday. The Fit Girl Magic podcast is intended to provide you with tips, tools, and strategies that will help you make better decisions about your health. I really appreciate your feedback and your support. Thank you so much.